Thrilled to be back here with singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, and finally author of Sex, Drugs, and Rat and Roll, My Life in Rock, Stephen Pearcy. Stephen, welcome back, man.
How are you?
So good to see you. Now, this is a great book. Now, the book is not just about the 80s,
No.
but you've really captured the vibe of the 80s, where colorful, glamorous, fun, with an element of danger underneath.
Yeah, hence the splattered blood on the back of it.
Yeah.
But, I've said it before, it would take about 10 books to tell any history. We're 30 years old next year. I just wanted to put some reality into the mix with some band stuff.
Well, you captured the time. I mean, Ratt came along in the 80s at a time when, unfortunately, the phrase hair metal was all in vogue, and it really kind of unfair to categorize you that way. I mean, it's kind of, I think of it more as when girls were invited to the party.
Well, that's why, Robin and I were so animate about, in the beginning we were, Leathers and Studs, and Motley was on the scene, and we were hanging with them, and but then again, I had just got done, hanging out with Van Halen for a few years, so I got a big wake-up call there of how you deal with things.
Yeah.
So, when Robin and I decided, hey man, we want to have some girls around. We don't want to alienate these girls. Absolutely. Because, at the same time, Maiden was happening, Priest, and, all these bands, so we didn't want to be, too leathered out, and we changed our whole concept. My influence of Duran and Adamant, we just put them together and went,
and it worked. It worked. Well, backtracking a little bit, you weren't always on the road to becoming a rock star. You started out, you didn't exactly have a Brady Bunch childhood, a little bit of family dysfunction in there that you talk about. And then when you were 15 that you had the bicycle accident?
Yeah, I was 14, 15, I got run over, and it pretty much put an end to any aspirations of being a race car driver, which I wanted.
Well, there was doubt as to whether you would walk again. You broke both legs, right?
Yeah, there was moments there, with the rods and the pins and the surgeries and, being laid up for 5-6 months. And, and it was interesting,
How long were you actually bedridden?
About 5-6 months.
Wow. Yeah. What impact do you think that had on your life for a 15-year-old kid to be isolated and stuck in bed?
Well, you found out who your real friends were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who would come around and help you out and hang with you and
bring you one-hitters.
Bring me the one-hitters, but it worked my brain pretty well, since I couldn't do anything but be on my back in a bed. You use your imagination, and it took a lot of willpower just to hang in there.
Well, it worked for you.
And it worked.
And one of the things I really like about the book is that the fact that you're not only a performer, but you're a fan of rock and roll. And it was your involvement with bands like Van Halen that got you into this mess in the first place. And you retain some of that. I mean, there's some great stories in there about your other celebrity encounters, like with Simon Le Bon. Yeah. And can you tell us about your meeting with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, I had to, there are some periods that I don't remember because, the band was, once we were off and running, it was no breaks. We were just on the road for 300 dates or whatever, and then right into the studio for so long. We didn't think it would last a year, let alone this long. But I'd go back to some of my guys and say, here, do you know any stories that I don't know, because I don't remember some? And my concierge guy, Joe Anthony in there, he went, yeah, he goes, you don't remember meeting Michael Jackson? I'm like, no. He goes, yeah, well, it was pretty interesting, we just ended up at this high-end kind of a club, and he happened to be there, and I saw him, and he had worked with him before, driving his chimp around, and I said, oh, I want to meet him. He's like, okay, well, hang tight. And then when I did, I asked him if he wanted a beer, and he looked at me like I was nuts, and the security guy, when it's time for this guy to go. But I was like, whatever. Yeah, there's been some crazy incidents.
That's great. And there's also, I mean, you come clean about a lot of things. We always hear about the sexual exploitation of women, not only in the workplace, but in rock and roll and stuff like that. But you were sexually harassed, and you actually had to put out to get your band booked into a very influential club, right?
Yeah, yeah, for a time being. It didn't go on that long.
Right.
It was, you know, I wasn't going to say no to, hey, can I take care of you, and you want to play the club? It's usually the other way around, you know, so.
Well, you're pretty matter of fact about your excesses and the prices you paid for these things. But I think we can't go without mentioning Robin Crosby, who he's a seminal figure in your life and in the book and in rock and roll that era, who ultimately, you know, died from his misadventures. You must think about that a lot.
Yeah. Yes, all the time. And Robin's with us, you know, contrary in what people believe and think, but he's around. He's quite happy about some things, and you know, you can only carry on for so long. I mean, Robin was a very big, important part of this band, you know, regardless of what he got into. We're not the most dysfunctional band on the planet, that's for sure.
Okay.
But, you know, it seems when you reach a certain amount of success, you have to deal with the excess and the dangers and actually terrible things that happen, you know. Most bands who have reached a certain plateau, they have some kind of catastrophe, you know, and it's unfortunate to get that kind of validation, you know, saying that you made it, you know. But we made it when we headlined Madison Square Gardens years later. I mean, even though we were doing arenas, until we headlined Madison and sold it out, that was the pinnacle. We had made it, you know.
And you guys are still doing it. That's, I mean, fast forward, Ratt is on the road. You came out with a great new album a couple years ago. You guys have Juan back in the band?
We have Juan back in the band last year and a half. It's been great. And we actually did do our first show with Van Halen not too long ago at a festival, and it was pretty cool.
Wow,
pretty cool.
Full circle, coming full circle. Well, in the meantime, until there's new Ratt, the book will suffice. It really is a fun read. I mean, it's not just fun. I mean, there's some dark edges in this story, man.
Yeah, a dose of reality that can possibly help somebody, you know.
Absolutely.
There was a singer in a very successful band that came out and said some things public that were very relatable to my situation, and I was, you know, thinking about that, saying it's okay, you know, it's good to talk, it's okay.
Absolutely.
It's not therapeutic. It's okay to go, hey, you know, you can get through these obstacles. You can not be on these fun drugs for a while, you know, and you can get by and you can accomplish things if you want to. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an incredible journey for a kid who almost didn't walk again to playing Madison Square Garden and surviving in this day and age. Yeah. And you do come across as somebody who's hit the heights, but it doesn't really seem to, I mean, you don't seem stuck up or jaded by it. You're still kind of a California kid who likes to have a good time in rock and roll.
Still, you know, and that's what, you know, that's a good analogy there, because, you know, when I go do shows and I sing, I just go sing. I tell my daughter I'm going to yell at people, and she knows what I mean. It's just like, you know, if you want to hear me sing in pitch on key with the effects, and listen to a record. If you want to go see us and hear me sing and just sing, I'm old school. You know, I learned from, you know, Robert Plant to Zeppelin and Van Halen and early Aerosmith, and toward Nothing Was Clockwork. They played and it was loosely tight and it was cool and you had a good time, and that's what you went there for. You know, the color, the excitement, and the sound and lights and the big picture. You know, it wasn't about, oh, he messed up a word, or oh, God, he sucked, or whatever. It's like, well, It is what it is.
Yeah, it's not a Broadway show. It's rock and roll, and as a fan, I like.
Some people take it way too seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely, and some people charge way too much for tickets too when they take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones. But anyway, we are really glad you're still doing it, Stephen. Again, check out the book "Sex, Drugs, Rat and Roll: My Life in Rock" by Stephen Pearcy. It's a great read. It's an inspirational read. Thank you, Stephen Pearcy.
Thank you, brother.
Good to have you, man.
Appreciate it. Hi, this is Stephen Pearcy from Ratt. You're watching Psychobabble.